Brilliant speed with vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet.
Live from Studio B. It's time for Vibrant U.
Studio V.
Sure, there you go.
Studio V, yeah.
Vibrant.
Welcome to Vibrant U Live. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Bo.
And Vibrant Cruise, the underground crews are starting this week to expand some of our fiber areas. It's getting warm out.
Yeah.
Frost is gone.
It's
For the
exciting.
most part, yeah. And
What new areas?
so we're doing what's called line extensions, right? So at the ends of some of our fiber lines, we're going to extend those out in different areas. We've got on the other side of French Lake and Cokato Township, we're extending some, and just various places throughout our area. And so they're doing that now. So we thought we would spend this time to talk about the different ways that people can connect to the internet. Okay? And some ways are better than others. So we're going to start off with how many different ways you can receive an internet connection at your home or business.
Yeah, where's dial-up?
Remember that?
That's the number one. So back in the day, dial-up, I remember working for the church. I was the secretary, and we had just gotten internet. And so when I would go on, no one could call in. So it was very short-lived.
Right?
So dial-up back in the 90s, again, it was just a modern connection to home and, small businesses and whatnot.
Sure.
And again, you couldn't, it was the one and only line unless you had a second line. So, and then we evolved. So Shane,
I mean, it was slow,
yeah.
but how else could you get on,
That was it.
I remember back in like the early 1990s, this is before I even had internet, I was running a fantasy football league, and I would go to, every Tuesday buy the paper, and I would hand fill out, everybody's scores and that kind of thing. And I was reading a fantasy magazine, and it had like this phone number that you could call in, and it was like, I don't know, $20
Sure.
for the season, and then you could have your computer call in, and it would download all the data onto a program, and then it would put it in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. And so I did that like in the early 90s, 91, 92, somewhere in there. And then I got dial-up internet in like, I'd say 96, 97.
Oh, boy, you were ahead of the game.
I know, but we had one phone line, and like you say, Jane, nobody else could call. Well, there, listen to that. Oh yeah,
Yep, that's
Huh?
exactly what it was.
that sound is burned into my skull. Right?
Memories.
Exactly. So I mean, it's like you say, it was the way to get on early on, and
Only way.
yeah. But then from dial-up to always connected, Bo, how did that go?
Well, we went from having to listen to that noise to going to, cable became the new replacement for DSL. And, with cable internet, you wouldn't have to, have one person on the internet and no one could do anything. Now people are able to connect more devices. So like Shane mentioned, that went from always connected, because people would just use it because it's more convenient. And so that was kind of in the late 1990s. Much faster service, and then by the early 2000s, DSL and cable were both kind of considered broadband, which is kind of a generic term for internet. And then came wireless. So satellite internet became more popular and available in the kind of the early 2000s. So it offered basic internet. And it wasn't necessarily that it was faster, but it was more available to people in rural areas that didn't have, the option to get DSL or the option to get cable. And then kind of mid 2000s, you started seeing something like fixed wireless, which is what we use as a hybrid system. And that's radio signals from tower to tower. If you drive around in the Meeker County area, you're going to see our fiber towers. And that's kind of how people get that received fixed wireless signal. And then that's kind of the stage that we're at now, where people are still using fixed wireless. And then the next wave would be cellular internet. So everyone's had cell phones for a long time, but kind of the mid to late 2000s, you started seeing companies like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile offer, home cellular internet. So it's just expanding. You can see from technology jumps, you're either getting faster speed or you're getting more availability. So that's kind of the next progression, and then we're going to go into where we're at now, which is fiber.
Yeah, and that's where we're currently at is fiber. So fiber optic technology began being used for data transmission in the 1970s. So I mean, it's not new, right? It's got some decades of technology behind it. It was mainly used for research, government, and long-distance telecommunications. But by the 1980s and 90s, fiber became the backbone to the internet. And now you're thinking 1980s, well, the internet wasn't around then. Well, actually it was. The internet was kind of started back in the late 60s. It was connecting universities to universities or government buildings together. It was just not widely available to the general public. But in the 90s, it was the fiber backbone. Fiber was the backbone of the internet, excuse me. And it would carry massive amounts of data between cities, countries, and data centers, but not yet to homes. Fiber to the home started becoming available in limited areas in the early to mid 2000s, with broader residential rollouts in the 2010s and beyond. And that's where fiber today is kind of becoming the normal connection to the internet as fiber expands, just like what we're doing with Vibrant. And today it's considered the gold standard for internet service, offering the fastest and most reliable connections. And speaking of fiber, Bo was telling us a short story this morning that's pretty interesting, and it's kind of important as fiber is expanded into an area, and especially with Vibrant, to take advantage of that early on as we're building out an area. So, Bo, go ahead and tell us your story.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this because we're kind of up on our build season. It's getting warmer outside, so people are going to see our fiber crews out there putting fiber in, and we get this question a lot where someone has had maybe one of these options like DSL or cable, and they're thinking about switching. They're just not sure if they want to or when they want to. And we try to stress that, especially if you have a longer driveway, during these build periods, we have windows where we can add the additional footage for a longer driveway and get people connected at no cost. Now, normally that footage is going to cost money, and there's a window, sometimes it's a couple years, where, we can do it included. But if you wait too long and you call us maybe 2-3 years later and say, hey, I have made the decision to switch to fiber, you may be paying upwards of $2,000, $3,000 in additional cost to get that fiber connected. So if you do have one of the longer driveways, or you're just not sure if you wanted to switch to fiber, just kind of keep that in mind during the build season, that it's best to do it while we're building, just to make sure we get it to you at a better cost.
So you had a phone call, right? And then the guy he had to pay, if he wanted to get our internet, he had to pay the $2,000. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, it was, and it's happened a few times, but just, recently we had someone that waited a little too long, and unfortunately they had to pay additional cost to get the fiber, where if they would have done it right away, it would have been included.
That's a bummer. So there are 8 different types of internet. 4 are wired and 4 are wirelessly. So I'm just going to go over those a little bit. So the ones that are wired are dial-up, DSL, cable, and fiber. Shane's counting them on his fingers. And then the other 4, the other ones that are not wired is satellite, fixed wireless, cellular, and modern fiber-fed fixed wireless. So we put this all together and kind of did some comparisons to what was the, from the best to the worst, or worst to the best, however you want to do it. And the main points that we were looking at is the convenience, the speed, capacity, reliability, and the price. So not everyone is going to have those same in order. I might find convenience more better than the price, or vice versa, something like that. So we're just looking at different options for different things that provide the service. So we did a scale out of 1 out of 10. So take it away, Shane.
Yeah, so what we did is we compared those 5 criteria on a scale of 1 to 10. And obviously it's subjective. Like Jane said, some people might value price over speed, or somebody else wants reliability over convenience. But putting these all together, we rated from 8 at the bottom to 1 at the top, What's the best way to get connected to the internet? Of course, number 8 is dial-up. That's still, it's actually still available in some areas. That's all you can get, right? It's technically possible, but functionally for usable internet, it's just not the best. I mean, you can send an email, send some texts, maybe browse real light websites, but nothing major. You're not going to be streaming on dial-up. Satellite is number 7, and it's available almost anywhere, but high latency and data limits and the cost kind of hold it back. There's 2 different types of satellite internet. There's like a HughesNet Viasat. That's one version. And then, of course, Starlink is kind of the newer style. Starlink is going to rate a little higher than that, but overall, generally, satellite comes in the 7th place. DSL, and that's what Bo said, kind of came in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's comes in number 6. It's stable, but it's got aging infrastructure. So, like, copper wires wear out and things like that. It's just kind of being replaced now with new stuff such as fiber. And then, of course, with DSL, if you're kind of at the end of the DSL line, you're going to get less reliability, less speeds than if you're like right up next to the box, so to speak. Older fixed wireless comes in at number 5, and that's where the fixed wireless signals hop from tower to tower. So there could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hops from one tower to the next tower to the next tower before it hits a hard line, and that comes in at number 5. Number 4 is cellular. It's extremely convenient, and it's improving, but capacity and cost can fluctuate as well. So that's kind of where it ranks as number 4. Number 3 is cable. It's widely available. It's pretty fast. It's decently fast. But again, you're sharing bandwidth, and it also suffers from that end-of-the-line speed dropouts, things like that. Number 2 is the modern fiber-fed fixed wireless, which is what Vibrant offers. In the rural areas where you can't get other types of internet, or you want better internet than maybe a satellite or DSL can give you, that is kind of the number 2 way to get it. And that's where you have a single tower that feeds one hop from the tower to your home. So it's fiber up to that tower, and then it's just the last mile, so to speak. That's the only wireless hop you have. So you still get the low latency that fiber brings. And then, of course, number 1 is fiber. It's the fastest, it's the most reliable, and it's the most future-proof connection available today. So, Bo, let's talk just a little bit about the cellular, because that seems to be pretty popular.
Yeah, and we want to just touch quick on it because it's newer. So with newer technology, there's just details and a few things that get left out especially in the advertising. So what you're going to see with AT&T, T-Mobile is 5G, their box or whatever device, they'll call it something different. But we just want people to be aware when they're choosing something that's going to be a cellular device, you're going to have to make sure, for one, you have good signal. So I've had a lot of people use these devices and say it's worked great, no issues, but just as many people have had no cell signal. So when they are trying to use that, it's not consistent. And then, we were talking earlier about, the cell data has limits and thresholds. So you can maybe use a certain amount of high speed, but if you look at the fine print, when you are taking a look at these companies, they do slow down after a certain limit. So if you're watching a season 1 of a show and you get through it, there's no guarantee season 2 is going to actually keep up with the bandwidth, because you might have used all that high-speed mobile data. And then, over time, cell towers can change and fluctuate. So you can have, times where it works fine, but they've redone the cell towers, and now your signal's pretty poor. And if you're relying on that for your main internet, it's just something that you probably want a hard connection for. So we're just asking people to maybe take a little bit closer look into it and not be disguised by maybe a flashy price right off the bat, because there is a reason why it's not, as maybe a normal price you'd see for internet, and they can offer quite low because of some of these issues they have. So just kind of when you're doing some shopping, make sure to read all the fine print and make sure you're getting the best connection that you can.
Exactly. So with the choices out there, we try to simplify this as best as we can. Things have evolved with more and more information being available at our fingertips all the time. You want to have an internet connection that you can set and forget, and that truly is what Vibrant tries to bring. Our fiber-fed fixed wireless, and of course our fiber. Set it and forget it. Don't even think about it. You're always connected.
Speaking of connections, if you are interested, we're going to be at Kimball Expo, which is the high school, Saturday, April 18th from 8:30 to noon. So stop by and check us out. We are running a promotion right now till the end of April. If you sign up for the Fiber 200 or more, or actually do a referral, we're giving away tickets to the Twins on the June 3rd. And then any questions, give us a call, 693-3231. Catch the replay on Facebook or YouTube. Search for Vibrant Broadband and listen live every Wednesday at 10:30 on KLFD.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, for having us.
You bet.
Thank you, audience, for listening. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Bo.
Tune in next week for another Vibrant You Live.
Brilliant speed with vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet. Vibrant broadband internet.